Good evening, everybody. Welcome back as ever to Building Blocks, where we program Minecraft mods live on camera and watch as things go boom. Because Minecraft is not a game that was ever made to be modified, as near as I can tell. So, last time I gave you all a decision, a choice in what we would do, and you very, very, very heavily decided that we would program cosmetics. So, I have had the unenviable joy of having to code 20 different cosmetics over the last week. But oh boy, do we have some cosmetics to show. So, here we are, here is the full assortment. That is 14 different kinds of tail, not even counting variations. So, thanks for that. I'm still rocking my Cobalt cosplay, because hey, it is still June, which means it's still Pride Month. Fun note, the next version of Various Oddities will have a client-side config option for having the Kobolds wave their pride flags pretty much year-round. So, hey, wouldn't that be fun? But let me see, let's start from the top here, shall we? So, we have the Kobold tail, which I'm rocking, and all of these, every last one of these cosmetics, goes into one of two slots. Horns can go into the head slot, tails can go into the back slot, but all of them can also go into one of these 4 cosmetic slots, meaning that you don't necessarily have to sacrifice functional curio slots for the purposes of just having an outfit, essentially. And they're all 100% dyeable, and every single last one of them will stick with you when you die rather than dropping or being left in a grave or some sort. So, you will absolutely respawn with your cosmetics intact. Which is good because I've filmed a few, scripted events in, my time as a YouTuber, and, it's always a pain when someone accidentally dies and they have to, spend 5 minutes picking up their costume and putting it back on. I'm exaggerating at 5 minutes, but it is, a hassle. Then we have the Kirin Tale, which, inspired by our very own Kirin Dave, as we can see there. Looks a bit like a lion, I guess. We've got the Wolf Tail, which, as one would imagine, is just what a wolf looks like. The tails are fairly animated, and in most cases. We have the Cat Tail, based on the Ocelot, which you would think that of all things that a cat tail would be highly animated. Nope, it's just 2 pieces. It's just 2 cuboids and one of them bounces when you walk. That's it. A little weird, that. Oh yes, as a note, the wolf tail and the cat tail can actually be cycled, so you can turn one into the other. It does not retain if you have dyed them, it does not retain the dye in between this, but just makes it that little extra easy for, when you're dealing with. Then, of course, we have the Foxtail, which is one that we did last week. And that looks exactly the way that you would expect it to. So, yeah, there it is. It's a little more animated than the actual Minecraft fox. But, as a bonus, if we grab a whole ton of these, we can just shove them all in here and get however many tails that is into a singular item. And if I just take out a few there and plug those in, we can see that we've got that. And if I just shove these in, it also still works. So, as long as the number of tails doesn't exceed 9, you can shove whatever combination you like into the crafting grid and get the whole thing. And then, of course, you can make it look real funky. Really funky. Eventually it starts to look like either a cabbage or you're just sort of smuggling a whole ton of sweet rolls or something. It's quite the view. But it sticks with you. There you go. It is dyeable, so whatever strange kitsune character you wish to portray, you are fully able. Then we've got the Rat Tail, which I think was maybe the first one I added after the stream last week. It's a little different to the actual giant rats over here, because the actual giant rats over here, their tails are pretty much always horizontal. But there we go, there's our rat tail. Looks pretty good. This piece of fur at the base is the dyeable element. This part actually stays perfectly pink, much like the white tip of the foxtails. And then we move on to the Bakeneko tail, which is craftable. If you combine 2 different cat tails, you'll get that. So let me just grab that for demonstration. Blip, blip. There we go. So 1 cat tail becomes a wolf tail, 2 cat tails becomes a Bakeneko tail. Just so you know, just for ease, and I guess also theoretically for storage. If you get a whole ton of, like, cat and wolf tails and you don't really want to get rid of them for whatever reason, then you can cycle the wolf tails into cat tails and combine the cat tails into Bakeneko tails. I don't know what circumstance that's for, but that's a thing. Once again, that is dyeable, and can be made whatever color you like. A Bakeneko, for those of you who aren't familiar, is a twin-tailed or split-tailed, fork-tailed kind of cat from Japanese mythology. This one was requested by Fuzz, though I don't know why. Then we have the dragon tail. This one is based on the Ender Dragon, but the way that the tinting process works, the Ender Dragon's tail, Nekomata, yeah, that's the one. Bakeneko is also like that. The Ender Dragon's tail is two-tone, which is to say that it has parts that are pitch black and parts that are kind of light grey at best. So consequently, with the way that the tinting process works on textures for items in Minecraft, it doesn't really work that way. Oh, thanks for that sub. It doesn't really work out that we can have two-tone objects without having, like, just 2 separate color values inside of them, along with 2 different textures, and it's a lot of work to get 2 tones. But that said, you can at least live your, I guess, kind of dinosaur-y or dragon-y kind of lives by having this. So, yeah, it's a dragon tail. It works well enough. It is pretty much the exact same model as the Ender Dragon, actually. Special thanks, though, to Dusty, who did put together a kind of schematic for this one. A few of these other ones had like schematics from Ken's on the Discord, because all of these were drawn from the Discord. Here we have the very classic red spade-tipped devil tail. Very straightforward, very dyeable. Just, yep. We don't actually have any devils currently scheduled to be as part of various oddities, but if that ends up being what tails they have, then okay then, I guess. This little nubbin would be the rabbit tail. Again, quite straightforward. One of the least animated. There is a little bit of animation there, but, you know, there it is. No special properties to pretty much that, or anything else, but these are all meant to be cosmetics, which means they're meant to be light at best on function. They're very about visual. Here is the horse tail, which I actually had to scale down slightly because it was actually originally quite massive. The standard, like on the horse model, their tail is 14 pixels tall. Your torso is 12, so imagine. Actually, the torso might be, I want to say the torso might be 16, but it's definitely 8 wide. Either way, it's a lot, so this is actually scaled down from that. It's also a very simple tail for horses in Minecraft. Even with their updated model, it's basically just one hollow cube. Personally, I thought it had 2, but apparently not, so weird that. Let's see, what do we have next? Next we have, okay, yeah, this is where we get things a little bit more insectoid. We have the dragonfly tail, which tries very hard to be sticking as close to the angle of your torso as it possibly can, so that when you are flying, it's basically flat, essentially. A little bit of animation to it. I did add a top layer to it so that it doesn't just look like a giant cube coming out of your butt. Because I knew somebody would try and like dye it brown and just make some laughs, I guess, but yeah. Strictly speaking, for a proper dragonfly tail, this should be like 30% larger or so. but at that stage it's ridiculous for a cosmetic. So that's what we get. Wings, I know, especially given that I just showed the Dragonfly cosmetic, people are going to be wondering, am I going to be adding wings? And the answer to that is yes. Not this version though, because they're a little bit more complicated than just adding a regular cosmetic, because there's the question of, are they a variant of Elytra, or do they become some kind of functional cosmetic if you craft them together with an Elytra? How do they interact with the flying ability of various oddities? It's a complicated thing. So gonna have those will have to wait a teensy bit, but they are definitely on the to-do list. Then we have the ant abdomen, not to be confused with the thorax. And yep, here it is. Pretty straightforward. That doesn't do a whole ton of stuff, but looks the part. A lot of these are named for specific creatures, but they're a bit more vague, just so you can theoretically use them for RP purposes in other contexts. So, for instance, we also have the lizard tail, and this one actually has it's a bit more of a it's a higher quality, I guess, cat tail, but if you combine it with a piece of nether quartz, then you can actually get the barbed lizard tail, which looks a bit more deadly. Lizard tail can have many a cube as a treat. This one specifically was requested, I believe, by Kyofushin on the Discord, and it is in reference to the lizard/reptilian humanoid species, the Aura, from Final Fantasy XIV. I have probably just butchered that name. Just gonna put it out there, but yeah. It's a cool looking tail, so I decided to implement it. And this has a very, very pale kind of purplish tinge to it, but you can, of course, dye it whatever you like. And that is every single tail that we now have. Every last one. Of course, we also have a few new head cosmetics here as well. So, from what we already had, we have the Heartbeast horns, we have the ram horns, we have the deer antlers, and if you combine the antlers and the ram horns, you get the Kirin horns. Straightforward, resembles very much our dear Kirin Tale. So, yep. And if you combine those with a Nether Star, bloop, 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 you get the Storm Sage horns, which are these. And just as before, these are in fact dyeable. What's a nice dye color? A nice and very obvious dye color. How about purple? You'll definitely be able to tell purple apart. Yep. And these have the distinction that, in addition to being animated and semi-transparent and everything, they do in fact glow in the dark. So we can hop over to here to my makeshift kind of dark room. There you go. They're a very, very special kind of aesthetic, but I think it looks pretty good. I kind of want to add the hovering eye from the Kirin Archfey of the earlier versions of various oddities, but that might take me a bit. So yeah, here we go. Very special horns. Then we have the wolf and the cat ears. Once again, these can be cycled through one another. And I'm evidently missing some tags here because these should say head. But yeah, so very straightforward. Very straightforward. They just mimic the wolves and the ocelots of vanilla Minecraft. And yep, there we go. Once again, if you've dyed them and then you cycle them like that, they will not retain their color. If you craft the foxtails together, they'll retain the color of the top rightmost tail if it's dyed. Similar to a bunch of other things here, but I'll get to that in a hot second. Then we have the Axolotl Gills, which were the first non-horn helmet kind of cosmetic to be added, but yeah, there they are. And there they go. If they detect that you're swimming, then they fold backwards instead of forwards. You can dye them, and they're a little bit animated too. If you start crouching, they do the similar things. They do not allow you to breathe in the water. Just putting that out there immediately, because once again, these are decorative. And then one of the last items added, I think, might have been yeah, it was definitely, I added the ant abdomen, and then I did these to procrastinate from doing the Final Fantasy XIV tail, because bleh. But here we have antenna, and if we get a pair of these, because I'm gonna need that, that'll be important in a moment. But if I stick that on, I've now got a single antenna from my head. It just sort of hangs out, wibbles, doesn't do a whole terribly great deal. But I can craft that together to make ant antenna, which is a pair that are forward-facing, unless you're sneaking. Once again, all dyeable, and in that case, if the top leftmost one, I think it is actually, is dyed, it will retain the color. You'll know just by checking the item tooltip, it's fine. And what's more, if we take the ant antenna, cycle it, we can get the moth antenna, which once again retains its color, because that is a custom recipe, and those are a bit fuzzier. But yeah, so that is the ant antenna, or just the antenna. I should note that if you craft them into things, you typically, unless explicitly stated, cannot uncraft them from things, so once you combine your antenna into ant antenna, you're not getting a singular antenna out of them. But okay. 20 minutes later, there is all 20 of the cosmetics. Oi. What do we think? We got to so many that I had to move the dark room, expand the wall here, and then compress it, because I realized since everything was dyeable, it was somewhat irrelevant to show that they could be dyed by having their separate cyan dyed versions. So all of these, by the way, are fully available on Curse right now. If you go to various equipment on Curse, then you can download the Liz version and grab all of these. Speaking of grabbing them, if we head over to here, the loot provider, cosmetics now have their own loot table, and that loot table contains almost every cosmetic there is, as well as being appended to a number of different loot chests. So you can find them, for instance, in vanilla dungeons, you can find them in the abandoned mine shafts, you can find them inside of the desert pyramid. You can also just get them by fishing, and I'm probably going to add certain cosmetics as rare drops to certain mobs. So for instance, you will probably be able to get the Foxtail occasionally from killing foxes. Don't do that, it's mean. But also wolf tails from wolves, cat tails from cats, that kind of thing. Axolotl Gills. We don't have axolotls in this version of Minecraft, but when we eventually get to that stage, yeah. Just sort of so on and so forth. So that you'll be able to you'll be able to get all of them from just sort of randomness, but if you specifically want ones and for whatever reason you're not willing to cheat them in, there's a specific route to go for to get them. Still really love the dotted box thing showing where it goes on your body. That just seemed like convenience to me. Especially with the rat tails and such, because it's if I don't have an indication that this is meant to be a tail, it just looks like a weird worm or string or something. So it just made sense. But it looks good. And, oh yes, I should check. Nope, Kirin Storm is in here. Interesting, interesting. I must not have just run the data at some point. How odd. Anyways, we're not working anymore on cosmetics, because I've been working on cosmetics for a week straight now, and I am very worn out on that. Yes, once again, wings are a planned feature. We do not have them currently. but they are coming. And then you'll be able to have whatever, like, you want sticking out of your back as much as you like. The great fun about the cosmetic slots is that you can actually have up to 4 different types of horns as like in terms of like individual items, and that allows you to actually mix and match them. So I think I have some examples down here of showing kind of what that looks like. Yeah, there we go. So, because you can, for instance, have 2 different kinds of horns, up to 4, then you can actually mix and match what different colors you like on them. So here we have green ram horns with lime green hartebeest horns. And you can also overlap the storm sage horns with the Kirin horns to make a really weird animated kind of effect on them that also glows in the dark. Like, maybe it's like when, maybe they're like rivulets of gold through ore, or maybe it's like when a tree gets struck by lightning and there's embers crackling along it. Like, whatever aesthetic you want to go for, there you go. It's one of the fun little details of that. But today we're working on templates. Largely, I don't, strictly speaking, need to have this function working, but there's a user on the internet known as Kirin Tale, who has kind of been the unofficial spokesman of this particular mod, to the point that they have kind of started making promises that my code presently can't keep. Like, I know for a fact that Dave has been like giving people lists of commands to execute to imitate the Lich template that doesn't exist yet. So once I've caught up with all the promises that Dave has made of my mod, then I can actually get back to making videos and stuff a bunch more. That's why videos have been so, like, infrequent on the YouTube channel side of things. Dave too hype, yeah. Made promises that I couldn't cash, but nonetheless, I'm attempting to. So, templates are another extension of the species system, which contains inside of it the creature types as well as the abilities. Species are very simple. They are just a list of creature types and a list of abilities, optionally with a origin dimension. So, for example, the Enderman species would have a origin dimension of the end. But once you log in, you can optionally, depending on the config, be presented with a screen to select your species, and once you pick that, it will set all of your, like, you'll get a whole ton of abilities from that, you'll get a whole bunch of creature types from that, and that will set the sort of baseline of your play. Templates are things that modify everything that you get from your types and your species. Because types also have built-in abilities, but that's getting a bit more complex here. So, what's the point is of the templates is that through gameplay you can modify your abilities and your types and such based on events and things that happen to you. The most obvious example being the Lich template, because that is basically a high-end spellcaster thing that renders you nigh unkillable. Haven't implemented that one just yet, but the part that Dave loves so very much about the Lich is that it has a melee attack that causes paralysis. Don't get into melee combat with a Lich. I know it seems like a good idea because they're a spellcaster, but don't. It's not a good idea at all. So previously templates were, like as of last week, templates were more or less identical to species. It was just a list of creature types and a list of abilities. Didn't actually have any implementation to use them through, but very much alike. I have since changed them to a set of operations. An operation being an action. So, for example, over here we have all of the 3.5 Dungeons & Dragons vanilla templates that are available from the SRD, and this is a template. You go through it, so animals within with this template become magical beasts, overdies the creature type is unchanged, size unchanged, your extraterrestrial creatures encounter the material plane have the extra planar subtype, so add extra planar, pretty much guaranteed for us. This part would require a conditional operation, which is not necessarily, so it's not something I currently have planned. There's also inherited template that can be added to any corporeal, aberration, animal, dragon, phage, that is called a precondition, which are not implemented and will probably not be implemented tonight. But then there's other things. So here we have like add the extraplanar subtype. Here is like add smite evil ability, add dark vision, add damage reduction, add resistance to acid, cold, electricity. So those are all operations. Each individual step is an action we take. And the way that we do that is once we have created our template, we add these operations, ability or type operations, and they do those different actions according to what we tell them. Very similar concept to ability modifiers, or attribute modifiers rather, in Minecraft Vanilla, where there is a action which is like add, remove, multiply total, multiply base, that kind of thing. Those are all operations, and then the number tells them exactly what the magnitude is. We're just doing slightly more complex things than numbers. So, in the case of the ability operation, it depends exactly what action we're trying to do to it, but for the most part it deals in abilities, so you give it an ability, and if you ask it to set the ability or add the ability, just sets it inside the thing. Ask it to remove it, it removes it from the map, and if you ask it to remove all, you can remove every single ability in the map of a given nature, a set of natures, in fact. So in theory, you can actually say remove all abilities of nature, extraordinary, supernatural, or spell-like, which would remove everything. That's all three natures, so that would be every ability you have. And I don't know why you would do that. I guess maybe if there's like a really clean, if you want to like make a fake something, you could remove it and then add new stuff after that. These actions are carried out sequentially, I should say. So for instance, with the zombie template that we have here, we lose all of our super types, and we are then given the undead super type. So, in short, super type becomes undead here. Then lose all abilities of spell-like or supernatural nature, gain natural armor and damage reduction. This is what currently happens. By the by, there is no command in-game right now to show templates. We will hopefully be getting to that tonight. And the idea is you can actually have multiple templates, whereas you can only have one species. So the idea is that you'll be able to apply any number, like maybe you start off as a half-celestial kobold, and then later on you're turned into a zombie. Well, then we have the species kobold, we get all the stuff from that, then we apply the half-celestial template, and then we apply the zombie one. So, first in, first out kind of thing. Have I lost anybody so far? Do let me know, because I'm getting a little bit into the nitty-gritty here. I do have a concept also in templates of can players select, which I guess we would describe as being an inherited template in Dungeons & Dragons, meaning something that you start with rather than something that's given to you or applied to you. That would probably make a lot of sense for me to rename that then, but in which case that would be a template that would be theoretically available to you when you first log in. Though I haven't implemented that either just yet, so I still have to pretty up the actual species select screen. It's functional, it's just not nice, I guess. Yeah, let me know if there's anything I need to go into slightly slower paced and clearer detail on here. But essentially, now a template is just a list of operations, as opposed to a list of creature types and abilities and such. And those operations can add or modify abilities, as well as add or modify creature types. It's basically a cooking recipe, I guess, is a very simple way of looking at it. Add milk, turn to heat, stir. Put in the oven. Don't know what I just described, but bleh, there we go. The part that we'll be working on today predominantly is getting a command to show the templates in-game, as well as actually hooking the operations into the operations of the species and the abilities and whatnot. So we start off by going to command species, I guess. So here's the thing that adds all of our current stuff that we have. So listing all the species we got, showing details of specific species, all manner of stuff, but nothing currently related to templates. So that's the next thing we need. There is a tiny little fly that's just ducking around my eyeline on my code, and I can't. It's annoying me. Bleh. Off you go. Okay, command abilities. Reminder, you can have custom creature types as well as custom abilities, and those are the highest order, meaning that if you desire, those will override anything from your species or your templates or whatnot. You can... The idea is that when you select a species, you have the option to get rid of your custom creature types, because the species might implement abilities or creature types that might not mesh too well with the creature types you have custom. So there is no such property for templates. Anyways, there you go. That's what I'm looking for. So, let's see. We then need a number of literals here. So we want list, we want info, and we want apply, as well as remove. I guess we can also have a get to just like show what templates are active on a specific person. So let's just start with list. For that we want command source. And we want to more or less do what we do when we are actually showing the list of species. Right here. We want to go through, find all of the stuff. Very simple. That'll be our first step of, do these things properly exist actually on the server? That looks fine. What's our translation slug here? Species dot. Okay. Let's just bring a new value down here. Okay. That should be a good get species of info. That's a thing we need to change, because that will not show the thing that we need here. We want template with info. So let's see, species, templates, info, whatever the inputs is. Otherwise that should be fine. Yep, okay, just gonna change. I'm just gonna refactor this so we know what we're looking at. Okay. So, then, new literal list. Dot executes. Let's see, that'd be return list all source get source. Okay, just add that up here. And this would be templates.build. Okay, Going a little bit out of our structure here, but that's fine. Obviously, info isn't going to do anything right now, but what it will do is essentially pull out this data right here, which is the list of operations in a given template. So now we should be able to get an in-game list, at least of all the templates that are in the data pack. Perfect. Doesn't translate properly, but that is a good start. And yeah, gives us that, which doesn't exist, so it's just erroring. But good. Okay. Let's add some translation for it, so that it actually says something at that first line. Okay, yeah. Just preemptively put a couple of things in here for info. Okay. Detail species, which is the info command. Once again, very much the same. Hey Dusty, how you doing? Tired? Oh, you been editing the Cumberland report today? Okay, that part's fine. Don't need to worry about that. Should worry about this. Yeah, that needs to be info operations, not abilities. Been asleep most of the day will be once you and Ace record. Okay, right. Okay, so for every template operation in template.get operations, operation.translate. And that probably needs like a question of how many operations there are. Okay, let's add that in here. And that needs a argument, which would be template, I guess? String arguments, that would be. Let's see. What did I define it as otherwise? Detail species is called resource location. There you are. Currently does nothing, but we're working on that. One thing I'm sure Dusty is going to be amused by is the fact that this system will also handle half-dragons. It's a little more tricky with half-dragons, because half-dragon in Dungeons & Dragons is extremely mutable, whereas we have to have a separate template for everything. Because coding that into a data pack would be hell. Okay, and get our suggestions here as well. Just for user friendliness more than anything else. Okay. And then we need to return detail template resource location argument dot get from the source name and the source. Okay. And that should allow us to click on, say, Fiendish and see a list of all of the things that Fiendish does. Should being the operative word. Let's find out. I must look like one of the weirdest Minecraft streams on Twitch most days, I feel. Because you'll have, like, grass blocks or creepers or zombie pigmen or whatever, just, like, on everyone else's thumbnails, and then you'll see mine, and it's just, like, an Eclipse screen of code. I always look so out of place. Okay. Species, templates, list. Okay, then. Good, so that comes up with all those. Now, we're not synchronizing what templates are available to the client just yet. It's semi-debatable whether we even need to, because, as I say, most of the time templates will be applied like in the course of gameplay, but I guess people need to know what like there are, if they're going to select an inherited one, that kind of thing. But let's see how this goes. So, info for Celestials. Oh, we do have a little bit of a heck there, because it's looking for abilities, but everything else here looks good. Grand. And if we ask for zombies... Yep. Good. Lose all super types, gain type, undead. Lose all spell-like or supernatural abilities. Natural armor, damage reduction. Grand. Could stand to be maybe a little bit more formatted, but it's fine. I just need to fix up this part, because that should be operations, not abilities. Okay. So, list info, done. And now we need to get to the parts where I start to hook them into things. So, apply will add them to a target entity. Remove will do the opposite, and get will show a list of all templates that are currently active on a given entity. Get is probably a good start. So, yep, there's the templates right there. Unused until now. But there it is. And if we need to come down here. In order to know everything, we need to actually have it be stored in the MBT data, and as such, thankfully, much like species, we can presume that everything is going to be fairly static. Shouldn't be too much of a problem, but you never know. So then, let's see, for template, in templates, template list, add that, and then compound put templates, template list. Okay, real quick and easy there. If MBT contains templates, I believe it's 6 for lists. Let's find out real quick. It is 9. I went the opposite direction. Really wish that those renums or something, but oh well. So that would be list MBT template list equals MBT get list templates, and this is strings, so it should be. Is that the 6 I'm thinking of? No, those are 8s. Why am I... Compound... Okay, so lists are 9, compounds are 10, strings are 6. Strings are 8. What am I thinking of the 6? I have no idea. Okay, so for int I equals 0, I is lower than template list dot size. Oh, I should also make sure to clear out whatever templates are already here. In fact, I should clear that out here anyways. I probably also want to set the species to null. But just as a standard. Okay, so if vo registries dot templates dot contains registry name, then let me see, resource location, registry name equals new resource location. Oh boy. Get string I, then this dot templates dot add vo registries dot templates dot get registry name. Okay, and we'll start to see how that works in about 10 minutes when I come back from break. So go have your meds, go have a snack, stretch your legs, that kind of thing, and I'll see you shortly. Welcome back, everybody. Hope you had a nice little break there. I actually went off and grabbed myself some Pocky, because we ordered a bunch recently, and this is some delicious smelling blueberry yogurt Pocky. And Lord knows it's been an age since I actually had Pocky when I was coding. It's like, it used to sort of be my regular, like, ritual. Programming stream, Pocky. But just before we left off there, we have gotten our species command to now allow us to list as well as detail different templates that are loaded from the data packs. So now we are over here in living data, which controls abilities and species and whatnot already, and we're adding our list of templates, and then we need to actually have functions to retrieve what are active as well as to add and remove them. Ooh, if there's a 4, I wonder if it might be worth having a has in here to, like, I guess technically get could do the same thing. Actually, no, get will probably list them from a specific creature. Or I guess we could have an optional list from creature there? Yeah. In which case, then get would be a different thing. I'm just trying to think in terms of, like, using a command block to detect when a creature with a given template is, like, nearby or something. But, let's see, new argument, entity argument, single entity. Where's entity? No. There. And have that. Execute. Helps if I'm on the right bracket. I don't like doing it this way. But there, like so. So, don't just give it a list, it lists them all. Give it that, then it'll list the that will list the templates of a given entity. Okay. So private static int list entity, entity there, and the command source. Okay, so I've also gone through. I decided to use a hash map. We originally had a list here of templates. There. A hash map makes it very easy to retrieve whether or not we have a given template and such, as well as to check if one is already present before we start adding another one. Which is kind of good because templates aren't generally meant to be in multiple, like, much like abilities, you're not really supposed to have duplicates. You can't, for instance, be half black dragon, half green dragon kobold. I guess theoretically you could be. I guess I don't know how intercolored dragon breeding works, but yeah. The idea, generally speaking, is you have one of a given template, and then you can have all the other templates you like. But bleh. The pizza we ordered for dinner got delivered during break. Oh, congrats! Enjoy pizza. But okay, so yeah, it's just fairly straightforward. We check if it's already in our map of templates, which are stored by their registry name, and if it isn't, or it is, then we do the thing, and then we mark for recache. So the abilities get refreshed, as well as the types and such. So you get notified of everything. Anyways. So here we want to check first if entity is a living entity, because nothing else can have templates. Do I have like a... Oh, so it's get up here. Interesting. I may want to... I may want to just move that around a little bit, just so it's a bit clear. Just so it's actually like consistent. For now, we'll just deal with this. Okay, so living data for entity, that one, and if, let's see, if living data dot get templates dot is empty, then throw template missing exception again. What are we working on? We are working on creature templates. So we already have species, which allows people to play as like an archfey or a green dragon, just to name a couple of things. And we're now adding templates, which are basically things that get added on top of that. So for instance, you could play a zombie green dragon, or a half fiendish, or a half fiend archfey. That kind of thing. Just totally random examples. Exactly. No meaning whatsoever to those. Lich is a highly anticipated template that Dave utterly adores already, despite the fact it does not exist yet. So, we'll probably get to some degree of that tonight. But okay, so, we need to say how many templates there are, and then print the list of them. So refactor that. So that is not what that is. But otherwise, I think it's largely the same thing. Okay. We need a collection of templates for the time being, we'll pretty much just do that. Okay. There is a problem. Where is the problem? Oh, we never get there. Okay. So now return list entity argument dot get entity from there entity and source get source. Right. This will not show anything because we don't actually have a command to add and remove templates just yet, but it'll be a start. Do I have? I'm sure I have some exceptions here. There they are. Yep. Okay, there. So now at least we should be able to run that command. We're doing it by commands right now. Later on, templates are something that will actually be applied by various elements of gameplay. So, for instance, you could use the various magics add-on for various oddities to cast Reanimate Dead, or Animate Dead, I think is the exact spell, to create zombie whatevers. And then that would create the whatevers plus the zombie template, for instance. And if you go through the rigmarole of becoming a lich, then the lich template would get applied to you. That is the part where I'm not 100% certain if I need to implement the template preconditions. So, Celestial can be added to most creatures, but not all creatures. Lich can't be applied to undead because they're already dead. I don't 100% know if I need to do that on the sheer basis of if it's just applied by the code itself, then it doesn't need to, we can just check it there. Whereas if it's applied by command, then generally speaking, we want it to ignore all the quality control, because you are presumed to know what you're doing if you're using commands. It's rare, I know, but... oop, no known species. That's not correct. Did I forget to... Yeah, I probably didn't refresh that. That's probably... Or did I not rename it? I guess that's the next question. Fairly sure I did, but let's check. Oh, yep, there we go. I did not, so they'll just say the same thing. Yeah, inherited templates are a separate thing. I guess I could write the preconditions for those, and then if I actually make a select template at start of playthrough kind of screen, then use those preconditions based on the species you just picked. But not 100%. It's a complex question of how much do I want to how much do I want to gatekeep, essentially? Like, if somebody wants to be a half-dragon, then do they have to talk to, like, a server admin, that kind of thing? Or do they just pick it when they start playing? Okay, list, dev. No known templates. Good. And found free templates. Blee. Good, good, good. And we can get the info of, say, the zombie one. So, yep, all good. So, now that we've done that, the next thing is add and remove. We have them at all. So, let's see. Let's go with adding as our first thing. It's not hooked into any of the code that actually applies the operations, but here is that song that sounds distinctly like the creepy horror YouTube channel that I used to watch a while back. Every time this particular song starts, my brain immediately flips back to the intro sequence of that one YouTube channel. Can't recall what it's called off the top of my head. Okay, so add templates. We need a resource location. We need an entity. And this definitely needs to throw an exception on occasion. Namely, is it an entity we can't apply it to, or is it a template that doesn't exist? What exactly was the message it showed us there? Real quick. No known templates. Good, good, good. Okay. If entity in instance of a living entity. Step 1, I guess. Should step 1 be check if the template exists or check if it's a living entity? Who knows? Is there an entity invalid, actually? Selector not allowed, player not allowed, only players allowed, too many entities, too many players. I'm sure there was an invalid entity at some point, but Okay, so next question. Does the template exist? If it doesn't, then throw the missing exception. Otherwise... Wait, those are all the same exception. Template invalid, I think, would be in that case. Am I correct in the thinking of that? Invalid is failed to identify template. Good. Okay. So, we need the living data. For our living creature. And data dot add template. That. And then we can return 15 for yes, we did. Okay. And we'll send the source a message here. Let's see, translation slug plus add dot success. And let's see, template name entity in dot display name, I think, is it? Yeah. Added template blip to blip. So let's see, we need the entity and then the name. So new argument. Or actually, do we want... Yeah, we can say resource location to entity. Because that'll be a little bit more natural language. It's going off the screen. This is partially why you don't really want to do everything all in one. What is your complaint? Oh, you don't actually return anything right now. Bleh, that's why. There. Okay. Return. Add template. Resource location argument dot get resource location from the source we want. The name entity argument. I want to get the entity and the source. Okay. So that should allow us to just tack on, say, the Fiendish or the Celestial template to dev, and then we should be able to see that. Hopefully. Let's find out. But yeah, if you want to, like, start off your, like, RP server or whatnot with everyone picking, like, special races, and then later on there's, like, some dramatic story event where, say, somebody becomes, like, a half-fiend or something, then templates let you do that. And later on, if there's some dramatic event that renders them no longer a half-fiend, they'll go back to being whatever they were before, rather than just removing their entire species, which is what happens right now. Hey Cam, how you doing? Okay, species, templates, apply Fiendish to dev, currently just dev, but it's fine. Applied template Farad Fiendish to dev, okay. So list, templates on dev, Fiendish, grand. And I can get all the info of what that means. Good, 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 good. Okay, so types, list, target, dev. Defined as Fey Holy. I should also be... Oh, of course, I'm not registered to Extra Planar. We haven't actually hooked these to do anything yet. They're just there. Looking from the start, enjoyed food and ignoring the cake in the fridge. It's only, like, 8 days since my birthday. I can still enjoy cake. Actually, I can't. I ate it all. But still, nonetheless. Okay, next thing. Removing templates. For purposes like what I just described. Template doesn't need to be... doesn't need to be one that actually exists. For instance, if you change the data pack, then there may be a template that no longer exists. In which case, it's just sort of sat there in the player's, like, in the entity's, like, data. So for this one, we actually don't need to check that. We just need to check whether the data has that template. Could always get more cake. Yeah, but I've kind of got bigger concerns at the moment, unfortunately. Like, I need to sort this out, and then I need to worry about having, like, getting my hair done, because I have, like, however many inches that is of, like, roots to dye here and whatnot. And then I could get cake. There. Hash maps are a great utility kind of thing because they have a fixed lookup time, whereas lists and such you have to iterate all the way through. Little bit of a pain. So if not data has template name, then create that exception. Otherwise, remove. I don't 100% know right now if I'll need to put these as instances, or if I'll be okay to keep them just in the cache. Hopefully it's fine. For right now, hopefully it's fine. Okay, so that's then new literal 2. God, that's a lengthy thing. Okay. But let's clone that. Remove. From. And there we go. Okay. Removed. Okay. That should be good to go. Let's have a look. So if I log in, I should see that I have the Fiendish template. And then we should be able to remove the Fiendish template. Essentially what we're looking for right now is, can I actually tack these things on? They don't actually do anything right now, but can I tack them on? Because if I can't tack them on, there's no point of whether or not they would do anything. Oh, I forgot there's a template that I forgot, actually. And I kind of am surprised I forgot about it. Ghost. I forgot about this one. That's one of the other ones. This is one of the bigger ones as well. Like, just look at all that. Ugh. Anyways. I'm not going to be able to implement every single template, but some meaningful, fun ones, sure. Also, I don't know if it's necessarily entertaining for people to be perpetually incorporeal. That might pose some difficulties in the day-to-day. Okay, I do still have Fiendish. Good, good, good. So now if we remove Fiendish from dev. Good, okay. No known templates. Good. So let's just apply Celestial to dev. And while we're at it, we'll apply Zombie. Okay. Good, 2 register templates, Zombie and Celestial, and if I remove Celestial, good, perfect. Works exactly as intended. Grand. Okay. I say we should be okay for synchronizing, because we do that with the abilities anyways, so it should be fine. We also synchronize the living data, so again, should be fine. So the next part is to actually hook it into types and abilities. So there's get creature types, which goes through everything. And that's our first stop, because if that works, then we should see extra planar pops up onto my creature types when we go through. Let's just quickly add a thing here of, do we have any templates? Where are we? There we are. Okay. So if data has templates, then we're working on a list. Good. So for template operation, actually no, for template and data templates for actually just gonna, I think it's probably best just to have like apply template kind of in here, because otherwise I'm gonna have to import a whole ton of stuff in a whole ton of places. So public void apply type operations. And then for template operation in operations operation dot apply to types in. Oh, that's a set, not a. Okay, well that's fine. We should be able to manage that. Call it a collection or a set, I guess. Templates, apply type operations to our list of types. There. And this is what happens if we don't have any registered types for them. We just try and extrapolate what they could be. By default, you'll probably end up as humanoid. Probably. Okay, so it does not like that because it's not a set. What if I put it as a collection? Will you accept a collection? Calling collect from types here. Okay, there we go. A set would be more ideal, but yeah. Okay. Fortunately, the way these operations are set up, I only really need to change one. Okay, public void apply ability operations, which would be a map of resource location to ability. Similar thing, we just apply that to our abilities. I do have a third operation that can theoretically happen with the template operations, which is apply to entity. I'm not 100% certain what exactly that does right now or why it's there, but it seems a meaningful thing to add. So there it is. Like maybe that adds visuals. I don't know. It's just there for right now. Just in case. Covering my bases. Okay, so this needs to... Well, actually not this one. The type operation needs to call a collection rather than a list. Or a set, rather. Please tell me that doesn't cause any problems. It does not. Grand. Okay. So now, when we add Fiendish, it should add extra planar, and from there, that'll tell us whether or not this will work as well. Ability's not currently hooked in, but can we get types in? That is the question. What worries me mostly with abilities is the potential to cache because we had trouble with creature types and their different abilities and such, as well the species instances. There's a lot of data that might end up being shared across a bunch of people. Because, for instance, we had the air subtype adds perfect flight, which is fine if you're the only one using it. As soon as multiple people were using the air subtype and its flight ability, everyone was on the same flight ability. So if somebody turned it on, it was on for everybody. Oh, that reminds me, I need to have a UUID for the abilities, because if an ability does not have a source ID, then it doesn't get added, period. It gets ignored. Which is a protection to make sure that things don't crash, essentially. But, yeah. Anyways, we are looking for creature types for Dev to be Fey, Holy, Extraplanar, or Fey, Extraplanar, Holy. One way or the other. So let's see, species, templates, list on Dev. Currently we are just a zombie, which actually should mean that we show up as Zombie Holy, or Undead Holy. So... types, list, target, dev. Hey! Good start, good start. And if I remove the zombie template from us, it should go back to Fae. Yes! Perfect! That's good. That means we can define a non-default start point and we'll be able to go back to it rather than having to reset it. Hey hey! Okay. Very good, very good. Now we need to hook up abilities, and that requires actually having a ID value here. The question is, do I add... like, how do I define the UUIDs here? I can define them by species, or by template, that makes sense. But I would need to feed that into the ability... I would need to feed that into the operation in order for it to know which template was applying it. Because a lot of templates, for instance, add damage reduction, or add resistances. So what happens if a later one adds a different value? The system needs to know that it's changed in order to know that it needs to notify the player. Which would mean that every template needs to have a distinct UUID. Which is not a terribly hard thing to do. But it will be a little bit of a grind, because we had to generate UUIDs for these. Again, not hugely difficult. I suppose we can just, like, take the name of the template, like its registry name, use that to, like, inform a random number generator, and from there generate a UUID. Pocky for brain power. Okay, yep, let's have a UUID. And template operation needs to know what that is. doesn't need to store it because it should just get added every time it boots anyways. Okay, and then ability operation. Every time that we would add it, then set source ID to template ID. There. So now every single template should have a separate UUID, which allows us to have different abilities be added by different templates, and the most recent one wins, essentially. And more importantly, we know when the most recent one wins. Because if an ability is overridden, and we didn't have the source ID involved, we wouldn't actually notice that it was overridden. So we wouldn't recognize that anything had changed, so we wouldn't actually change anything. But okay, that should be fine. We just need to sort out the fact that we don't have UUIDs coming in here. And we also need to actually store the UUID. So JSON... I think probably best, yeah, UUID. This dot... Is it template ID? Yes, template ID toString. And from templates dot template ID equals UUID from string JSON dot get. Oh, it's an object, yeah. Object is what we need. Get member UUID as string. And just check it out. There we go. So if you write a data pack and you don't actually give a template a UUID, then ability adds and such will not work. But add is about the only one that it needs to worry about, so... Okay... Just do that, and... Public stuff... Well, actually, this can just be private. These don't need to be accessible anywhere. Celestial, Lich, and a zombie. Okay. Lich isn't used at all yet, but that's fine. Okay. So, let's see. I'm going to need to actually know what those are so these things stay consistent. So we need to go to the templates provider, which just generates from the defaults. Also this template registry, get default species. I don't think that's correct. Get default templates. There. Relics from cloning one thing to make another thing. Okay, save, good. Couldn't save template, yep, that's fine. Okay. System.out.println template ID for plus name template get ID or UUID, I guess. Shouldn't be a major thing. To string. Alright, good. So now we run the data, and then that will spit out all of our defaults and what their UIDs are so that I can just happily shove those in. There they are. Okay. So for Zombie, Fiendish, and Celestial. Good, good, good. Obviously, don't have one for... So, we don't have one for Lich just yet, because we haven't actually generated a Lich template just yet. But one of the problems we've had with regards to the Lich template that Dave has been kind of spoofing, essentially, spoofing in the, like, hacking term of, like, faking, is that when... a lot of things in modern Minecraft use actual registry names, which is very handy because it means you have a reliable name that you can apply to something and you'll be able to retrieve it. Potion effects don't. Potion effects still use an ID value, and that is different in basically every single mod pack there is. So you have to figure out what the ID value is for a given potion effect. Which is kind of a big problem for our poison abilities, but oh well. Okay, let's... Do you want to quickly throw together a Lich template? Possibly. We've solved that problem, so now when we get our abilities, we can actually retrieve... We can actually add them from the templates. I hope. That should be from abilities, I think. So get current abilities. Where are you? Cached current. There you are. Okay. So if data has templates, then for template in data get templates. Template dot apply ability operations to the ability map. There. So, God willing, that should mean that works now. In which case, we should see things like the damage reduction, the like natural armor of the zombies show up on my screen. Because down here, yeah, I could also just use that and let's see like 3 different resistances pop up. I'm not exactly sure why celestial creatures have one more elemental resistance than fiendish creatures do, but meh. Not a huge concern. I don't really need this anymore. We'll keep it there for a hot minute, just so I don't have to worry about adding it back in when we start trying to plug together a Lich template. But yeah, because obviously, like, the first version that has templates needs to have the Lich template so that Dave and everybody Dave has talked to about playing as a Lich can actually use it. Otherwise, it's a bit of a problem. As I say, I did have a tentative third operation type, because we have type operations and ability operations. Theoretically, there is entity operations. What these do again, I'm not sure just yet, but they're things that we should probably have there, just in case. Like things that happen when it's applied, I guess, when it's first applied. Like creating a phylactery in the case of a Lich, I guess. Okay. Species, templates, list on dev currently. No templates, good, okay. Species, templates, apply zombie to dev. Okay, good start. You can see I've lost my favorite abilities up the top left there, because those are removed according to the details of Zombie. So hang on, let's just get the info on Zombie. Zombie, lose all spell-like or supernatural abilities, of which those were 2. So if I hit my view here, yep, I've still got my fast healing. I've got the types of undead. I also have vulnerable to evil, vulnerable to holy. I don't appear to have these abilities, however. Why could that be? What has prevented that from working? I've lost all the other things. Why have I not gained as well? Let's have a look, shall we? Nope. That's fine. That's fine for now. That's what we need. Okay. So add, if ability equals null, return. Could that be it? Unlikely, or else we wouldn't be able to list it. Get map name, set source ID, template ID, okay. Is that the problem? Is the template ID not present? Let's modify the readout to actually show what the UUID is for different templates, because that could be it. But let me just... Actually, it probably is, because I betcha I didn't refresh this after I ran that data to find out what the UUIDs are. No, there it is. Not sure then. But yeah, let's have command abilities actually... Well, command species actually show what it is. So let's see... Detail. And we'll see exactly how far I've gotten with identifying what's going on there. Clearly I can remove them, I just can't figure out everything else. In a mo. So, see you in about 2 minutes, everybody. Welcome everyone to the last hour of our evening tonight. I think I found out why the abilities weren't getting added, but just to round up what we've been doing tonight, we have been trying to implement templates, which are essentially add-ons to your species in various oddities, allowing you to, for instance, play a zombie kobold or a half-dragon wildebeest or whatever. That begins with making sure that we can modify types as well as to modify abilities. That is the crux of the majority of things that are affected by various oddities. So, hopefully, we've sorted it out. But just before we left off the break, we verified that the zombie template will affect your creature types as expected. So you lose all other super types and just become an undead. And you do lose all spell-like or supernatural abilities, but we noticed that we weren't getting natural armor and damage reduction abilities added. And I believe that that was because we didn't have a source ID on the abilities. If every ability that a creature has to have a source ID, so that we can identify where it comes from, and hence know when it has changed. Even if it's the same ability, but different MBT data, because MBT data can change a lot, whereas source ID changes never. And we were setting it here, but we noticed that we still, for the life of us, weren't getting it. I believe the reason for that was that we weren't actually setting the template ID of the operation as the template was being loaded, so once we loaded up the template, the operation still had no actual template ID. So hopefully that now passes through. Currently, adding abilities is literally the only part of this that needs a template ID, but who knows, there might be some other reason I need it later. It's always good to have, if nothing else. We do have to have it be, like, template specific. Each individual template needs its own unique ID value. Because otherwise you might get the same ability from different templates and we'd never know if it was a different one. And it is significant to the ability system, especially the cache, to know if an ability has like changed source. But anyways, if we log in, what we should hopefully see is 2 new abilities when I open up the abilities menu. And yep, there we go. We have natural armor as well as damage reduction at the top there. Hooray! Good, good, good. And if I remove the zombie template from myself, then I get my I get my activated abilities back because those were previously being removed by the template. And we also get damage reduction 10 overcome by silver here. Good. There is a slight concern here, because strictly speaking you're supposed to keep whichever is better. Obviously, natural armor +2 is significantly lower than the +5 that Archfey gives me. So I'll need to build in some kind of comparator for that at some stage. For right now, this is fine. But yeah, that's grand and good. Okay. So, last thing for the evening then. Let's throw together the makings of a leech template, because I know people are going to want to see what that looks like. I also need to create a Smite Good / Smite Evil ability, which is a feature of both the Fiendish and the Celestial templates. And it's fairly straightforward. Once per day, the creature can make a normal melee attack to deal extra damage equal to its hit dice total, maximum +20, against a good foe. We don't have a concept of hit die currently, but I like the idea that it's actually, like, extra damage equal to its, like, current health against a good foe, or an evil foe if it's a Celestial, in which case it's a once a day +20 damage, which is not enough to take down most bosses, but still quite powerful. Or maybe it's like half your hit point, like half your current health, in which case it's like max +10 under most conditions. But that sounds like that would be like a meaningful ability that you would actually use like very carefully. Just as an idea. But anyways, I digress. Let's grab the Lich template. There you are. So, bunch of stuff. Obviously, the big thing is the phylactery. We don't currently have a phylactery like ability, and it's a very complex thing to have anyways, so it's fine. Fear aura. We don't have a concept of fear at the moment. Fear is a very tricky thing to implement because you need to. It's all well and good to say that like it just makes mobs like run away from you. How do you affect players is the question, and more importantly, how do you affect players in a manner that does not feel like you're ripping agency from them unduly? Like, to be paralyzed, you're actually like stuck in your own head. If you're dazed, you can still look around. Those feel like different effects, even though they have functionally the same kind of like actual impact. But it doesn't feel like your agency has been like dreadfully wrenched from you. So the main thing that we'll just be adding here for today is probably Paralyzing Touch, as well as damage reduction and natural armor and all sorts. So let me drag this over to the window over here. Okay. If you are dazed, what you heard, if you are Dave. I guess. I mean, Dave is a lich, so that kind of helps. Okay. Power is roughly equivalent to what the level adjustment is, so in this case, it is 4. Set player select? No! Okay, similar to zombie, we lose all of our super types, and we just have the undead one. There's no mention here of them retaining subtypes, so I don't know if we need to remove those. But I kind of like the notion that they stick around. Most subtypes aren't really meaningful for a lich, but the air subtype, for instance, gives you flight. A lich that could just, like, freely fly is a terrifying notion. Okay. We're gonna want natural armor. Let's see, retains all the base creature's special attacks and gains, yep. Retains all the base creature's special qualities and gains, so they don't lose anything, unlike the zombies. Oof. +5 natural armor. Damage reduction 15, overcome by magic. Which is a lot. And we haven't even gotten to the spicy stuff here. Immunity to a bunch of different things. Back it in. There we go. There we go. Did I name that correctly? Apparently not. What is it? Damage resistance. Okay. Okay, so immune to cold, electricity, and a couple of spell types. Resistance spell. Yeah, there's a descriptor that I can use. Do I even have ones for that? I have mind affecting. I don't have shape shifting, but mind affecting I can add. Undead are immune to most kinds of mind affecting effects by virtue of being undead, but yeah, should be fine. Okay. Turn resistance. We haven't implemented turning undead yet, so that's not relevant. Yep. Okay. So, Paralyzing Touch. Let's have a quick look at ability poison. So, we give it a percentile chance to trigger, and we give it a set of an array of different status effects, and it will then, randomly, when you hit somebody with your bare hand, apply those effects to them. It's not an activated ability, it's just something that happens. Something really, really mean that happens. And I know I've given Dave some specific values. Let me see if I can remember exactly what the value was, because heck if I do. Yeah, I don't see it, so I'm just gonna have to make up my own value. I'm gonna say 0.65F. New effects, instance, VO, potions, dot, paralysis, duration. Now, here's the thing. The actual 3.5 Lich code says that the paralysis is permanent. Which is more or less fine if you're fighting a mob, but if you're fighting a player, if, like, slightly more than half of your, like, bare hand melee attacks against a player render them permanently paralyzed, it really sucks. So, I'm gonna say 15 seconds. Just so that the other players actually have the capacity to do stuff. Theoretically. I guess you can if it triggers once, you're probably dead, but at least you're not sitting there for eternity. You've got, like, 15 seconds. Okay. Let's also go to our templates provider to uncomment that, so we can find out what the UUID is. We're going for the report done. Yay! Just in time for the next episode to release. Ganbatte, Dusty. Ganbatte. Actually, it's Dusty and Jade these days, isn't it? Okay, Lich, there we are. Okay, from string, there. Okay. Let's see how that actually looks in here. Lordy. Just... Lordy. I could probably do with adding an operation that's just like replace super types with this, but it'd be a little bit more complex. And since it would only do basically one thing, there's no real point in changing what action you give it. Because like we look in here, there's remove all, there's add, there's set, there is remove, and all that sort of thing. But there's not really a need to do that if it just does one thing. Anyways, we now have the Lich template. And it's terrifying. It is bigger than everything else right now. But let's see. I could also start to do a vampire template, but most of what vampires do are custom stuff, so I don't really have much of anything that they have, like, actually implemented. Like, there's a lot of abilities across 3.5 D&D at least that are fairly regular. You see them a lot and you know what they do and they're like fairly consistent. But a lot of creatures have very custom abilities that have to be expressly described inside their actual trees and whatnot. Okay, so if I plonk those there. So let's see. Types, list, targets, me, Fey Holy, good. Species, list, or species, get, me, yep, good. And species, templates, list, me. No known templates, good. Apply Lich to me. Oh Christ, the right hand side of my screen just got a lot longer. Okay. That's a lot more stuff than there was a second ago. Damage reduction 15, overcome by magic, fast healing, free, immune to cold, immune to death spells, immune to enchantment spells, immune to lightning, immune to mind affecting spells, natural armor +5, poison, vulnerable to evil, vulnerable to holy. Oh. And if I go give that villager a wallop, they should become paralyzed. 65% of the time. Hi there. Let me actually just like spawn in a different villager. Actually, just might as well make it a cow. Why not? Cows are probably durable enough, right? Yep, there it goes. Cows, unlike players, can still look around. Well, mobs can because it's a separate thing. But, yep, that sure is a paralyzed cow. And now you should be able to. Yeah. Are you ready for the kind of death you've earned, little man? Yeah. I love that that's like one line that Brent Spiner has said in his entire career and everybody knows it. In fairness, Data is a big mood. Much like Spock, they tried to write him as emotionless and instead they just made him autistic. Not to be confused with autistics don't have emotions, by the way. Which is a very, very bad assumption. A very, very bad mistake to make. But okay, so I'm now a Lich, but I still have access to all of my... I still have access to all of my abilities. Pretty nice. Okay. So yeah, let's have a look at that. Oh. 8 operations in Lichdom. Oh. Dear gods. Dear gods. I should rename that to Paralyzing Touch. But, oh gods. Look at that. Oh lordy. Oh lordy. I'm trying to remember. Do I even have... I can set the display name, but it returns a void, so I need to actually create it in here. So let's fix that up. Let's see. Set display name. There you go. Technically that's set custom name rather than display name, but yeah. And that needs to return an ability. So I can use it inline. New translation text component. Let's see. ability.varod.lich touch, I guess, would suffice. Let's see, where are all my abilities? There they are. You know what I mean? It actually shows up as a different thing. It's the best part of being able to have all of your abilities be basically the same thing, but heavily tweaked by MBT. It means it gives you a lot of variety. Okay, so now if we check out Lich. Should be at the bottom here. Yep, translates that. Good. I was worried that we wouldn't actually be able to translate it, but fortunately that looks fine. So everybody can go and tell Dave I have made the reckoning of the entire Cumlock Home server tonight. So I think it'll still read as poison because of how the cache works. But if I remove the template and re-add it, then it should show as Paralyzing Touch. I almost feel like this should be something that you toggle. Yep, still reads as poison here. Okay, reapply, and yep, it is now Paralyzing Touch. Does exactly what it says on the tin. Except also, it's terrible. But at least I keep my Archfey abilities right now. I've got that. Dimension Door and Hearthstone should be, hopefully, enough to keep me away from Dave. I don't recall if poison actually requires you to deal damage though. Let's have a quick look, shall we? Is valid damage source manually? Did you do the thing? If you have the ability, random chance, I think. Not Thorns damage, entity damage. Nope, you don't actually need to cause damage. I think. Yeah, it's living attack, not living hurt. Fire when entity is attacked, whenever attack entity from before living damage. Oh, yep. So Dave can paralyze me through my umbrella, as an example. There's a reason this isn't a species, because then somebody could theoretically start with it. Like templates are, a lot of the templates are fairly minor, but some of them are very powerful, and that's because you actually have to go through a bunch of stuff to get to them. That's the plan, anyways. As I say, currently the only way to get them is through the commands that we've made tonight. But, oh boy. Oh boy. But yeah, there we are. That's Lich. That's Lichdom right there. Now you don't get the spell resistance, you don't get other stuff, you don't get turn resistance, but oh boy. You also don't get the Fear Aura. Creatures of less than 5 hit dice in a 60-foot radius that look at the Lich must succeed on a will save or be affected as though by a Fear spell from a sorcerer at the Lich's level, which causes you to potentially run. causes it to become panicked. If cornered, a panicked creature becomes cowering. As I say, like I don't have a solid fix as yet on how fear should work. If I can implement fear effects without having to manually take like direct control of a player, then great. But the trick is how to otherwise do it, because then I have to implement some kind of effect that incentivizes the player to act as though they are afraid. Like if you observe a like feared player inside of like the game, then it should look like the player is freaking out because they're afraid of something. But they're just like on their end doing the thing that they are incentivized to do. But it's sort of difficult to like make that kind of boundary. But yeah, dear lord. Let me just like stack up the other effects. So celestial and fiendish and zombie. Actually, zombies we're gonna remove a whole ton here. I've got a whole ton here. Let's see what my type actually reads as. Good, it does not read as double extra planar. Good to know. Have some weird and disturbing particle effects around them. That doesn't incentivize you to run from them, though. Like, Endermen have weird, disturbing particle effects around them. We nonetheless, like, we still go for the knees. Okay, so one thing to remember is that these templates are applied one by one, like systematically. So the order in which they are applied is the order in which they are actually like processed. So as soon as I add a zombie, I'm going to lose most of my entire ability section here. I've still got a whole ton over here because these are mostly extraordinary abilities. But I've lost a whole ton because zombies lose all of their supernatural and spell-like abilities. But if I just remove the zombie, maybe I've been resurrected somehow as an undead lich still, but you know, I get them all back. So there we are. Templates are working. Hurrah. So now I just need to figure out how to make them actually, like, accessible to survival players. But other than that, maybe a clear command here would also come in handy, just as a thought. I'll stick that on the list. We have apply and remove. Just add a clear. There. Okay. A tiny thing, really. And yeah, I also definitely need to implement Smite Evil / Smite Good. Maybe it's just like a Bane ability. We just like translate it to something else. That would make sense. If I try to remove that from now, that doesn't exist. Good. What templates have I forgotten here so far, I wonder? Just Lich. Okay. Just... Hoi. I'm a holy undead, but... there we are. Also, fun fact, holy undead do exist in Dungeons & Dragons. They're extremely rare, but they do exist. I couldn't decide whether or not, Dave, I couldn't decide if, like, the Lich template says your type becomes undead. It does not mention whether or not you lose subtypes, so I took that to mean you keep the subtypes. So you could be a Lich with a swim speed, for instance. Or a fly speed. Or the capacity to burrow. I don't know if Dave has seen burrowing, actually, come to think of it. Let's just show that off, shall we? Yep. Can't stop me. I'm not moving very fast, but I'm going for whatever I like. I feel like I should have, like, particle effects around burrowing entities, so you can actually like have some idea of where they are. But who? I enjoy that way too much. There are also like caveats to that. I can burrow most of this world because it's mostly grass and dirt, but there's a boolean I need to tick on in the MBT data to actually go for stone. Anyways, that's about all I got for today, actually. So, barring the odd little tweak, I think we're about feature complete on species templates and abilities and as such. We can add more abilities and templates and whatnot as we go, but I think that's basically everything functional. So, I think that means we get to go back to, like, mobs at long last. Dave, let me know if there's a feature I'm forgetting that you have told a bunch of people exists in this mod, but other than that, yeah, I think that's all for the night, so I hope everybody's enjoyed. Reminder, we're very close to continuing to fund my HRT. Dearly appreciate everyone that helps with that, and has helped thus far. Otherwise, my next stream should be on Thursday, with some Among Us, or maybe even some more Sea of Thieves, because that was fun, playing along with Sai. I might, depends how much time I have and how tired I am, because I had to go talk to bureaucracies tomorrow. I might have a Come Block Home stream tomorrow, we'll see. Otherwise, my next stream after Among Us or Sea of Thieves or such might be on Friday with some more Come Block Home. And then it'll be the Carousel on Saturday, followed by getting back to, I think, Wargs. I think Wargs and Wargs for Tuesday. Otherwise, any videos I make are over at youtube.com/RemberComic. We might see some more now that I've actually got that done, and have more to explain. And everything I do is powered by you at patreon.com/lying. Hope you've all enjoyed, and I'll catch you all as ever next time.